Shaffoneti for Mokwaba, Edoba Daily Updates. Happy Eid to all our viewers and all Muslims across the globe. Enra, let it be every officiality for presidency by say Professor Naana Pukwajman and Wonfano. Because last Friday, appointment man and what you need call University of Ghana, UGMC. Amomka said she needs to do a transfer to abroad, but to say information about no chase. Professor Naana Pukwajima is doing his fate, and so soon you better start. Nina say NJ and Bakojo, if you JM Bakojo of late updates be by a script or next I use woman at the mind to Kojuba 1 hour ago and post say information coming out to the Vice President Professor Naana Pukwajima. She say no Nyamiadum, she's corresponding to treatment and who ya out him say ain't Chibian on bed discharge in Amanaba. I was here the TFOs who now personal say we neko say update on a Professor Naana Pukwajima and it says Nyamiadum information reach out through Kwajuba JM Bakojo Babia Obi Nyamishra to Facebook at JM Bakojo was at the Honma or the information urban say Professor Naana Pukwajima Utredi Ampoanda Roma and a Mumpai Buntin way Yangote I might check say when him now social a commentator activist bar there is all dropping some Tokunu and a Mahama Petition Sagano. Why more details to that? Zoom into this conversation. Abra commodity any tragono, a project a script no, I was with Yambakodo, Okoha on the walls on Sabekabi. I'm sure.
Shasia Samano Senia a Musem a city. Is she right? Say I was so demanding for the copies, and I say for the petition, I petition against her, and I said the container, Neswa Aira, ECG for container no, and there you will be. A son so say container nibi wa omayi munyama aton a more cables nibi Akroma scrap dealers. Chinese company be a boni din say or no total scrapping also and also a Akroma. And he love you. I ask Crabbe at the free. What in I am come out. We are NTA or preliminary comment na into us.
Yeah, the other time I mention what's here for.
Be a just so be.
Now, Menkase, will be a one opportunity or what me follow Ghana politics for quite some time now. Complaining about how our institutions and the structures of government are very weak, especially under President Akufo-Addo. And it got to a time of virtually all state institutions came crumbling under the influence of the executive powers. You don't see institutions in the moment, individuals be strong men well in control. You who their course our Auditor General, your fancy department, you who their course even within the media and several other state agencies, the court, and then as a forum. Now, my culture says democracy be the foundational institution who here power back on the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. And the who here are Ghana for in a hoto swam war a womb in your free ma. Endanger the prospect of our democracy and the judiciary. But I follow media discussion, various discussions and polls around judiciary for quite some time now. With the politics, with the Adibiato in China, you come to appreciate say indeed public confidence in the institution, conform to a point at Ghana for GDA and to swear some war. Our judiciary in Nihobium, all because of some decisions and some appointments, some decision by some of these appointees at the Supreme Court. No, ama nipa en nijidia and there are a lot of online posts, a lot of surveys that have been conducted about the judiciary. I give credence to these. Your friends in some year can you be na body team and our until you will be aware so much and teased about a democracy, you'll be worried. Because this is one of the foundational institutions of democracy in Ghana. So if we are losing the judiciary, you should know that we are heading to an arena of chaos and pandemonium if nothing is done about it. And the Naana Supreme Court, in recent times, the most revered arm of the judiciary, the Supreme Court, again some notoriety for being a partisan arm of power under Akufo-Addo, and people were using it to do a whole lot of stuff. So we have panel na air course under President Akufo-Addo na ebi amanfo nhase enhyeda entenance nyeye. Judges na no panel for cases, you know. They were running through the same people. When the same personalities, the same people, and they were giving the same ruling and the same judgment all over. And then the cover unanimous 11, unanimous 5, that became a subject. The judiciary, you know, and the Supreme Court, you know, a subject of your friends are public ridicule, public mortification in all discussion because social media now for and corruption cases and allegations are your level against even some individuals in there. The whole Chief Justice was a subject of your friends say one of these allegations that lawyer Bibi Meki at the end of the day, you know, I think that lawyer was suspended whole lot of issues about in court. Sanyama when you now build it up to that particular perception. And then the mother of all things, you know, the appointment, the brazen manner with which the president was appointing people left, right, center to the Supreme Court bench. Obajia di say, you drew a point here, Obi a yenimse or your party we ni oko contest ye ewo your fan saying Ho East on the ticket of the MPP elusu ye. Sa nipa no ya promoting her to the stance as such a sensitive bench ya ne kotena so. Indication is all qualified. But you see, my culture said there are moral argument and common sense argument that you need to make. You look at the institution in question and how revered and a partisan is supposed to be. There are some individuals who push you I know today, no matter the kind of ruling or whatever, it will still create doubt on the minds of people, and that impression will sully the reputation of the judiciary. And those Nema way, causing a bedroom point, Ghana for about, I'm saying they are seeking to reset institutions. And in resetting this institution, it's not just any institution. The most foundational institution can be. Don't forget that this reset started from Parliament too. Is the reason why you saw that massive numbers this time around. Because most of the majority people are more the MPPs were voted against. So when people are talking about this reset, they don't talk about say the reset no already taking place our Parliament are taking place our the executive that is the reason why Bawumia lost the way he lost. Then the only armor that ruling 92.3 is the judiciary. And it's not as if the President Mahama Dosari or Simi Koyi Judge free ho. Only that 92.3 a petition that has to be submitted by a Ghanaian. Ghana near or ha or yet dissatisfied with Nema the Supreme Court and I say Chief Justice and so Article 146 so be when I can be that copy or hand can go through how what has to be done in that particular way and that will be at the petition Akroma President forwarded to your friend is saying Council of State now or more establish what I say there are merits and I say that particular petition have some credence be able to be forwarded to a panel for subsequent procedure say because of Minua Niamana air cost na generate whole lot of debate in the first place. Matisa says Tafo MP at the court say or stop the process because of free say president at Chief Justice 9 so be your friends saying when the far would so because Onyama na Kwenya Emayentie no. And sometimes what's in China will follow some of these things, and this guy in question is a parliamentarian. Now, this is the way he thinks. You could see clearly that it is either he's motivated by malice or the partisan lines, and I say he's not even thinking right, and I say he's just ignorant about this whole process. Because at this point, anybody will push the president to court to stop him because Onyamo Chief Justice Amane. So we have provisions now, our Article 146 now, down was a chere hawa. So we Chief Justice through her, and I say any member of the Supreme Court bench no free her, and now say or talk about regional tribunal chairman and as a forum. So you move through her. There are clear outline. Our constitution and Kasa adhere to her quite clearly how that particular process must be. Your friends applied. So at any point in time, so what the president have their offer, you have every right, citizen, to complain. But at this point, the questioner has any reasonable, logical mind beside who say at this point, president afomemra. Now the Chief Justice who demand now all demanded for petition copy, no, is it right or is it wrong? That is the question we are going to answer this time. The whole thing is that Constitution say president receive petitioner. It was set up that particular petition. Now, but what people are not considering is a particular will need a constitutional injunction on both the president and on the Council of State. So petition be the president why he's just a conveying bells. So there fellas in one of the press way the president's duty is to push that particular petition to the Council of State and establishing whether there is merit or not. That process is not an adversarial process. That is what people should understand. Adversarial, say, I don't know a bit more quite and I say that particular process is never adversarial. It's a procedural. Who say petition appropriate and I say appropriate on the face of things that has been presented. So at that point, you don't need the input of Chief Justice because they are not going to go into the case, the merit of it, to determine whether it is relevant or not. Sometimes you can even just look at a petition on the face of it and determine, say, even the petition is not competent. So there was a time I think say a bit by sign. So some of these technical destiny can even render the petition incompetent to be forwarded to the next stage. But this time, the president as a conveyor belt, has a constitutional injunction on him to push this thing to Council of State to determine, to establish that prima facie, in the face of what has been presented. May say that particular process is not adversarial process. Either warranty the Chief Justice to say So for a whole Chief Justice who understand this whole thing to come and say, yeah man, a copy at this time, it is wrong. And again, so what kind of constitution now called Article 146 Clause 10 now? I don't know if you have a copy, you can read it. Actually quite clearly say, President forwarded petition now say Council of State it may establish say indeed they need to proceed here. From that point going, it becomes an adversarial process. And at that point the Chief Justice must be heard.
Okay.
I hope you understand. So at that point, committee no better say more recommendation and a president better so act as to whether so obepam maamena and answer maamena better. So at that point, as the principles of natural justice dictate, the person must be given the right to be heard. What are some? So at that point, a committee has been set up. Comprises of a high court, Supreme Court judge, and other people. Your friends say, appoint your more lawyers and as well composition, no kind of constitution or no, a kind of clear. When that particular panel or committee is set up, at that point, you cannot say, oh, my Chief Justice, your friends say, a copy to know, because she must appear before the committee either in person or by her lawyer. And at that point, she must be heard. And the crime banner over fast it's because why not petition I can. I hope you get a point. Just a when you petition I can. So this whole process, include Chief Justice having access to the petition, but not just point, because there are merit, we can give credence to the petition, and that we can start the process. And this is what kind of constitution Article 148 down was now. Even with the president or started from forwarding it to the Council of State. That is where it started from. After dealing with the first member of the Supreme Court or the tribunal chairman, or started with sending the petition to Council of State to establish the prima facie whether it is relevant. So from that point, say, that's sorry. That Council of State back actually and say, Nema petition and the on the face of it, we think the petition is competent and it can proceed to the next stage. At that point, the president will have no other option than to give the woman copies to read. At this point, even the Council of State can say, on the face of it, your friends are not competent enough to proceed. So, would they copy command and who here at this point? And I don't know why some people on the other side, MPP, are taking this whole issue as if something has happened. And I don't know why the Chief Justice herself is panicking. Because I don't know signs of panic, or she's panicking.
Say, well, demanding for the petition.
Yes, at this time, she's just panicking. And baby or me, I'm not sure, or here, because as an American, she understands this thing is better than I do. So for her to come publicly, to send letters and ask for demanding, say, your man a copy, when she knows, this whole process can never terminate without her being given your friend is saying opportunity to read. And again, say committee in for Chief Justice. Now you catch us say your 7 days for responsible. But she can say, oh, the period is short, so give me 1 month. You have the right. Because at the end of the day, the input that you send to the committee, and as a Babaka, and as a Winyanti petition, you can request for more time. So there is no haste in this thing.
For her demanding.
Because I say, there is no way this thing will terminate without Chief Justice having access to the petition. She knows. So it's just you see, she's doing these things just to court public sympathy. Because after elections, they've lost relevance.
Yeah.
So they are just clutching at straws. So it's a hunu be aba no masori be chile de kokot. Gonyansa be anim sa asem wo de kokot.
Mami na say Ivan Che innocent. I know so when you but then mami quickly mami will bear 5 minutes being counted. I can go for a short, quick commercial break.
Yeah, sure. There's a number of break as time.
Yeah, I didn't know be na. Yes, Anka, yes, I'm from Piaka.
Kofi. As a what kind of constitution now? Or be so clearly say on what grounds? And a bit may Chief Justice a flaw. Either misbehavior, incompetence, or infirmity to both body and mind.
Yeah.
You know who said Chief Justice yare. But there are two broad areas that are very, very vague. Yeah. One share in interpretation your way. One has to do with misbehavior, and the other one has to do with incompetence. But they are normally, you be free. Wait, me use your incompetence because incompetence is like a sea.
I wish you stay connected. I daily update TV, so we give you the best information on your case.